Set for me.
Yes.
Greetings, friends. I've always been intrigued with those who are investors, right? I'm not even sure of what all they do, but I know that on the Wall Street Journal and other major newspapers, they got the stock exchange. I'm not even sure if they use that link. Do they still use that language? Okay, I'll start all over again.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Greetings, friends. As I read the scriptures for this weekend, I think about the whole idea of investment. I'm very intrigued with investors. I don't know anything of what they do. I kind of wish I did, but I really, you have to have money to invest, right? So, anyways, it's one of those things. But, those guys or those people that just, you know, open the Wall Street Journal, look at the stock exchange, and follow stocks and bonds and all that sort of stuff. It seems very intriguing to me. And when you think about investment and growth and all that sort of stuff, um, it it really isn't. I mean, I'm not being a capitalist here or anything like that, but the foundation of capital is that capital builds capital, right? And and the Bible really picks up on this um, because it's part of the overall organic growth type thing that you find in Scripture. There's always some sort of growth that has to happen. Everything's very organic. That's the way it is in the Gospels, right? And it's intriguing also that Jesus picks up on a lot of financial imagery in a lot of his parables. So Jesus was fascinated with this too. And so, with that, let's go into the first reading, Ecclesiastes. It starts out with that famous Hevel ha Hevel. Okay, stop that. Okay, Hevel ha Hevelim. Okay, Hevel ha Hevelim. Okay, which Hevel means well, it's translated vanity, um, or it could be translated as meaningless or valueless or whatever. Everything under the sun is, sort of just meaningless. But that's not what that term really means because God made everything good, right? And that's the conundrum, okay? How is it that God made everything good and yet it falls to futility in our hands, right? So I like the word absurdity. I said this before many times in our homilies. It's like the absurdity of absurdities because all these good things that are around us, they bring expectations to us. Okay, if I have this house, then what? If I have this car, then what? If I have this relationship, then what? Would be happy, right? But it's very interesting that when we get these things, or try to get more of what we have, that exponentially it's it brings us unhappiness. And the more you have of it, the more unhappy because the more you have, you expect to be happier, right? And you're not, right? So that's the conundrum of this fallen world, right? It's kind of like God cursed the earth, um, you know, so that everything that we do with our hands, the sweat of our brows, and the weeds we have to pick, I mean, the weeds are growing as you're picking. At least that's what I feel like when I'm in my garden, right? Um, yeah, this sort of thing is that this earth you cannot really squeeze out of temporal things the happiness and the joy and the meaning that we'd like, you know. So that's even wisdom. I think is funny, you know, in our readings. Um, even wisdom, it falls under the category of hevel, vanity, because if we get, you know, again, if we use this, if we have wisdom, then what? Oh, I'll then be happy, right? Now, it just says that more wisdom brings more distress because you see how imperfect everything is on earth, right? You know, ask Jesus. He was wisdom incarnate. And what did he get? Right? He got crucified. So even wisdom doesn't bring in this world um, or the desired effects, right? So we go to Colossians in our Colossians reading, and we see that something new actually happened under the sun, okay? And that is Jesus Christ, right? With his resurrection. I mean, he's ascended, resurrected, ascended above and beyond, you know, the heavenly, the vanity of vanities. If we are lifted or raised with Christ, then seek the things that are above. Okay. Seek the things that are above. That doesn't mean you won't be crucified. Okay. It might mean that you will be. But seeking the things above all this craziness that goes on in this earth, right? We can't sink back down into the things of this world. And we sink down into them with the vices of lust, concupiscence, you know, greed, envy, you know, all these things the apostle lists, you know, hey, listen, you know, these things keep us from soaring above the absurdities of this world. Okay. We get in the gospel another rendition of this where someone comes up to Jesus. He says, Jesus, I want you to be the arbiter for me between my brother because he's cheating me out of my inheritance. Jesus says, who made me the arbitrator between you and your brother? And then he gives him a warning about something that's going down deep in his heart. Pinpoint the envy and the greed that's there. And he wants them to be free of it. So he gives them a parable about the rich man that he's gathering all these good things. He's investing all sorts of stuff, and it's all coming. And it's really good and great. And instead of giving it away, what does he do? He says, well, I'm going to build more barns so I can get more and more and more and more and more. You know, hevel ha-heveling. You know, it's, you know, it's crazy, right? And as he's thinking this, God's thinking himself, today, your soul is going to be required of you. Then what's all going to happen, right? So, investment. You know, our vision statement is one that really, really fits into this whole idea of investing. St. Joseph's Catholic Church will be the spiritual, moral, and social heart of Eldersburg Sykesville through our encounters with Jesus Christ. When you encounter Jesus Christ, we are given gifts, time, treasure, and talent, right? 3 T's. And unless we are all investing well here, it won't happen so easily, right? But if we're all heavily invested, then we really will be joyful. We really will be happy because we'll see what the great things that God does in and through us here. So, the moral of the story: be a good investor, right? And spend more time in the Bible than the Wall Street Journal. Stock exchange. Okay. God bless you. See you on Sunday. Bye.